like there's porn versions of popular movies and entertainment.
Porn parody, yeah.
Yeah. Like there has to be a porn version of this where two guys trade right? If not, there needs to be like, how did that not happen?
This has to be made now.
We should trademark that right now.
Yeah.
And future. That's exactly what it would be called. Welcome to Bad Movies and Beer, the future Pornhub award-winning podcast.
They have Pornhub awards.
I don't know. Maybe. We're gonna win one for cock off. I'm Cooper.
And I'm Nolan.
And today we are talking about Face Off, the 1997 thriller starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, which maybe secretly isn't a bad movie.
I don't know. This is probably going to be a controversial one on B&B because I think a lot of people love this movie and might still love it.
Well, and it was a huge hit. Like, I knew it was a huge hit. You're right. Usually the movies we do are either complete bombs or they've been like savaged by critics or they are such kind of like schlocky B-movie stuff that critics wouldn't go near them. This one was a massive hit and like actually got like mostly good reviews.
You think this is probably the like most money earned for a movie that we've reviewed so far? Or
it's got to be so far.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. People might get hot about this one, but I think this is a movie that, with the benefit of hindsight, the badness really kind of badness. I don't know. It grew over time. Like this looks a lot worse in the rear view than it did in 1997.
It definitely doesn't hold up. Going back and watching it again, it's probably been 15, 20 years since I've seen it.
I haven't seen this since the last time I watched this was on a VHS tape that my friend like bought as soon as it came out. So that was like over 20 years for sure for me.
That tells you how old it is. It definitely doesn't hold up nearly as well. And it definitely makes me think about action movies from the 90s. While watching it or getting into it, I was really excited. I said, oh yeah, this is a John Woo movie.
Oh, that's
fond memories.
That's another thing
of John Woo. I don't know. What happened to John Woo?
It's one of those things, I think, where I watched Halloween, the original Halloween, about a year ago with someone who'd never seen it before. Yes. Halloween is this great, seminal horror movie. I would put it like top 10 horror movies of all time. And I watched it with this person, and afterwards I was kind of like, what do you think? And they were like, it's just, it seems like a lot of other movies. And like I get because that this was kind of like Halloween was like one of the first ones of those, but since there's been so many imitations and so many other versions since then, the original kind of loses some of its luster. And I think that's kind of the predicament that John Woo kind of put himself in.
Yeah.
Because as we go through this, you'll see some of the John Woo staples. They're just
tropes they've become,
man.
Yeah.
But at the time, it was like that was his first Hollywood movie. It was new and fresh, and people were like, "This is incredible." But it's been done so many times that now you look at it and you're like,
Was this his first Hollywood movie?
First major Hollywood movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then he basically just did all the same stuff in Mission Impossible 2.
Yeah.
And then again and again. So maybe we're what's the opposite of rose-colored glasses? We're viewing this through like shit-colored glasses. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
We're also drinking a beer.
Oh, yeah. What do we got here today?
So this is the Faces Double IPA from the Wellington Brewery in Guelph, Ontario, Canada.
Oh, nice. Home of the Welly, the boot symbol.
Yeah.
These guys were known for a long time for their darker beers.
Okay.
But excited to try this Citra and Mosaic Hop Double IPA.
I am not excited to try this, but
the cover's great too.
We all make sacrifices.
The cover looks like faces being sort of taken off. Kind of fits well with the theme of this.
Yeah. And is it like a circle of guys? Are they like praying to it or like dancing around it?
Yeah, I think they are. They do look like shrines. Some kind of like. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're the angry protesters telling us that this is not actually a bad movie.
Yeah, please send your feedback to us about this movie or about this podcast. If you're a face-off lover and you feel we've wronged you somehow, or wronged John Woo or John Travolta, or wronged Nic Cage even, let us know.
I would say watch it again first, though, because it's maybe not what you remember. Oh, the sound effects.
Yeah, you got to get a little...
Are they called sound effects when it's something happening in real life?
I think... Oh, I don't know. It's just quality Foley work, isn't it?
All right, if you say so. Okay, so we open in Face Off with a merry-go-round. John Travolta and his kid. I just realized this is going to be a hard movie for us to describe. A lot of times we just use the actors' names, but that's going to get confusing real fast.
Yeah, Sean Archer and his kid.
Sean Archer and his kid. Suddenly, a mustachioed Nicolas Cage, that's Castor Troy, appears with a sniper rifle just in broad daylight in the middle of a park. No one finds this odd or notices or expresses any alarm.
First John Woo sort of trope in here too, like really bright lighting and
flowing trench coat.
Yeah, dramatic operatic music to sort of set the tone. You're just like, oh, yep.
Well, it's a tragedy what's about to happen. He goes to shoot John Travolta in the back, and he does, but unfortunately the bullet passes through Travolta and kills his son. And this is how we first meet FBI agent Sean Archer and supervillain Castor Troy. 6 years later, we've got Nic Cage in a priest costume. He's setting a bomb somewhere while, meanwhile, John Travolta laments the fact that his special FBI task force has just got no leads. They got nothing on Castor Troy. Nic Cage exits the airport. There's a church choir singing Hallelujah. He rocks out in this over-the-top animated style and then basically molests a teenage girl in the choir.
Yeah, he sneaks up behind her. He says some inappropriate stuff to her, which... One thing that happens a lot in this movie is he says really inappropriate stuff and the women like it. That would not fly today. There's no chance that stuff would have been okay.
Well, this is how you know he's a bad guy.
Yeah, he goes up, but why do they like it? Girls like bad boys?
That's a good question. Some do. Yeah. Some do. Now, so I had this thought, I wrote this down as he's doing this weird sequence. This to me feels like peak Nicolas Cage.
Peak Cage. Well, is it because of the like dramatic evil eyes that he keeps throwing on? Like the biggest wide eyes I've ever seen in a face ever.
That, the manic movements, the kind of over the top, I don't want to say sexuality, but there's a very sexual component to this.
Yeah, it was strange, like struggling watching this at times, because I kind of like I remembered it fondly for sure. The overacting is so hard for both of them the entire time, and neither one of them to me seems like good guys. It's like, it's weird. Yeah. Like when they switch, I feel like Travolta's performance is way better as the like Castor Troy character.
See, too. This is interesting because I wrote down peak Nic Cage, but he's only himself for the first like half hour of this movie. So in a way, it's strange because I think most people would say, "Oh, this is peak Nicolas Cage," but then he's actually playing kind of the straight man. And for most of the movie.
I think he does a better job as the straight man. Like I found that the switch improved both of their characters for me tremendously.
Oh wow, okay. Yeah. I don't know about that one. I feel like they might be playing the wrong part. Maybe if he had started as a straight man, he could have just been unhinged Nic Cage for the rest of the movie. This would have been maybe better. Although it's Travolta makes some interesting choices. They both make some interesting choices. Back at the FBI base, John Travolta gets a call from his wife, but before he can take it, he gets a lead on Castor Troy. They found out that there's an airfield where Castor Troy's little brother, Pollux Troy, has chartered a plane and paid cash. Pollux Troy is very twitchy when we meet him. They board the plane, and I guess to your point, Nic Cage uses his unique charisma to immediately start making out with the flight attendant.
Yeah, this is the first time a line comes up in the movie that's going to come back a whole bunch of times.
Oh, about peaches?
I'm going to eat, or I could eat a peach for an hour.
Yeah.
He keeps saying it over and over, clearly like making innuendo towards some cunnilingus.
Why? She just goes for it. Like, to your point, she just goes for it right away. They're just making out immediately. She's just like sucking on his tongue.
Well, he says, "Would you like to suck on my tongue?"
And she says yes.
And just immediately on it. And you're just like, what the... Yeah.
Now, it turns out the cops show up. She is, in fact, an undercover FBI agent. So maybe she's kind of playing it up to get him to lower his guard. They're trying to launch this plane. John Travolta tries to run the plane down with his Hummer. They're playing chicken, and Travolta has to peel out because it's a fucking plane. But I think really he peels out because Castor Troy shows that he's got the agent. Then he kills her, throws her to the plane, just kind of shrugs, looks at the camera, shrug. I like that.
Is this one of yours? I think he yells out before, and then he blows her away and throws her. And
now John Travolta, Sean Archer, jumps in a helicopter. He's just in a helicopter that just happens to be there with keys. Do helicopters have keys?
No, there's a guy flying it.
He's flying it.
No, he forces the guy out and then goes in it. Like,
why
it
wasn't there?
So it was there as a part of the chase crew. The fact that he takes the helicopter to stop a plane is ridiculous.
It is. And he's chasing him down, and Castor Troy yells at the pilot, "Fly, bitch!" But the problem is there's an engine out, so instead he just kills the pilot. The plane can't launch, obviously, and it crashes. And then we get a shootout filled with the John Woo tropes and conventions.
Oh, yeah. So immediately at the start of this like shootout, you see Nic Cage jump out of the plane sideways and kill about 8 people with his
Slow motion,
kill about 8 people with his golden handguns. So he's just flying sideways, killing everybody. And you're like, oh, yeah, okay, this feels John Woo.
Oh, yeah, there's giant shotgun blasts. Guys are doing that thing where when they run out of ammo, they just drop the gun instead of reloading it.
Yeah.
Just like throw it away.
Absolutely.
Also, the spinning, like someone spinning while they're drawing a gun, all in slow motion. And again, these are things that at the time were kind of relatively new, where they were very stylized, but now it's been done so many times. I'm watching it, I'm just cringing at the whole thing.
Yeah, it definitely took away from the action for me. I remember that kind of feeling exciting in the past, but it's much more exciting for like a 12-year-old who hasn't seen many action movies.
Definitely. So they actually catch the brother, Pollux Troy, and then Sean Archer finally gets a hold of Castor Troy, but Troy tells him, "You've only got 1 bullet left, Sean," which how can he know that? They're in the middle of this shootout. Bullets are flying everywhere. How is he keeping track of which gun is Sean Archer's gun and how many shots are being fired? There's no fucking way. And then just to add another layer of ridiculousness on this ridiculous Sunday, Sean Archer says to him, "So do you." How?
Yeah.
I think they know each other so well they know what their guns sound like.
This is your like peak Nic Cage too, as he's going through and having this like huge moment, this giant speech in the middle of this gunfight. You're like,
big
okay,
monologue.
Yeah.
The Nic Cage monologue is full of quotes from like the trailer.
You're not having any fun, are you, Sean? Why don't you come with us? Try terrorism for hire. We'll blow some shit up. It's more fun.
Then he taunts Sean Archer's family and then just tries to shoot him. He just pulls the trigger. So Travolta should be dead. But it turns out he's just wrong with the number of bullets that Castor Troy has left. That would be the end of the movie if he had 1 more bullet, which Travolta thought he had. If you think he has 1 bullet, how do you get to the point where he's pulling the trigger? Sorry. The Nic Cage speech, this monologue, happens all while they are spinning around with guns on each other. This like weird spinning standoff.
In what it seemed like an engine testing facility at the airport, because the whole time we have this giant revving engine putting all this background noise and this added danger and like intrigue into this spinning
Which this
fight.
Is how Nic Cage pulls the trigger, no bullets come out, then he goes to try and stab John Travolta, but instead he grabs him and throws him into the path of this jet engine and just launches him down to the end of this thing like a wind tunnel kind of.
It crashes into the end of the testing cage, the wind tunnel, and they say it's over.
Yeah, they got him.
Yeah.
And then Sean Archer goes home. He finds out that phone call from his wife was because his kid got suspended. Parents, they don't understand her. Why is she dressing that way? He's just, it's your typical domestic plot right there.
And it was hilarious. They show the daughter, and she's got some eye makeup on and a nose ring, and it's like, this is the end of the world. What's happening here?
Big issue back then. Sean Archer's wife is mad at him until he tells her that he finally got Castor Troy. And she says, it's over. She is in for disappointment. There's 25 minutes in this movie. It is not over.
Not even close. And she has a little happy celebration. But Travolta or
that guy didn't celebrate
Sean
at all.
Archer, just not even a little bit happy.
No, he goes back to the office, gets a standing O from all his colleagues. There's champagne sent over from the CIA. He doesn't want to shut the whole thing down. Doesn't want it. Send the champagne back. He would rather dwell on all the agents who got killed. You know what else got killed? The vibe in that room by Sean Archer.
He definitely does a good job of playing like a one-note angry cop character there.
It's haunted.
Yeah. I mean, if your son was shot and killed in your arms, that would probably do it. But
yeah. Plus, he probably knows this isn't really over, despite what his wife thinks. And sure enough, they recover a zip disk. Remember those?
It was
Remember
a 3.5-inch floppy. I was laughing my ass off because I was like, "Oh my god!" Remember the computer technology in 1997? They have this big floppy disk, and they pull it out, and it has some of the best graphics ever.
As part of the bomb plans, yeah. Pollux Troy likes to have a little fun with his bomb plans. So there's like an animated lady in a bikini and weird animations.
Her name was Sinclair, I think, the weird animated porn lady you were talking about.
Oh, yeah. So they find the plans. There's going to be a big explosion with the biological payload. Of course, Pollux Troy denies the whole thing. Sean Archer wants 10 minutes alone with him, but his boss says no, so Travolta throws a little tantrum.
Look, we're not going to evacuate the city on your hunch.
Look, I know Castor too well for this to be a hunch. You know what? Just run the goddamn bureau any way you like.
I wrote down that this was super funny because of how garbage his acting was in the scene. This is where I was saying I think Travolta's way worse in this straight man role because he could not pull that off at all. I didn't believe a second of his anger.
It's ridiculous also because his boss's job is to run the bureau. So he is going to run it how he likes. I don't know why this little baby tantrum is going to get him to get what he wants.
Anything he wants?
No, not even a little bit. So they find out that the only person Pollux Troy will talk to at all or tell the bomb plans to is his brother. And the problem with that is he's dead. Or is he?
Yeah. No,
he's not.
Apparently he's not.
Nope. So a different agent operating some sort of shadow operation asks Sean Archer how he'd like to be able to walk into the prison and talk to the brother as Castor Troy. And he's obviously confused. We meet Dr. Walsh, who can change people's appearance and voice. And here's the plan. They're going to laser Travolta's hairline. They're going to implant some body hair where Nic Cage has it. They're going to liposuction away Travolta's love handles. And they're going to attach Nic Cage's face to his skull.
Yeah, I was loving the science here. It was wonderful. The biolab they created and the stuff that they describe is hilarious. And they go through, and the science fiction is kind of fun and kind of funny until they start trying to show you some of the stuff they're going to do. And then you're just like, it's laughable.
Well, the whole premise is absurd. Now, I will say, I'm going to give them a little bit of credit here because they do address the weight thing. They say they're going to take off the love handles. They say the height difference is negligible, and it actually kind of is. Like secretly, they're less than like 2 inches apart from each other, which surprises me.
The eye color was really close.
You know what is not close, even a little bit though? Head size. John Travolta has this big fucking water buffalo head. Yeah, and like there's no
actor in Hollywood who has a comparable head to John Travolta.
It's fucking massive. It's massive. Yeah. And so we'll get to we start seeing this comes up later, kind of, but he understandably is hesitant to wear the face of the man who murdered his son. Yeah. So instead, he tries to do it the old-fashioned way, interrogates Castor Troy's gang, including Gina Gershon.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't grab that pull, but you're right. Now that you say that definitely...
That was a nice surprise.
Yeah.
I did not recall her being in this.
Yep.
He finds out the date that the bomb is going to go off, but that is not enough information. So he agrees to wear the Nic Cage mask, put his face on my face, let's do this thing. He goes home, wakes up his wife. She's so glad that it's him instead of a phone call saying that he won't be home. And then she says...
But that's a fear I can finally let go of, huh?
Yeah, about that. Who talks this way, by the way? This was the most clunky line in the script for me. I'm like, no one says those things in real life.
Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Like, I think the family of people who go in, put themselves in danger probably feel that way. But she wants to have sex with them, is clear from the, wants to celebrate by getting down. We find out it's been a couple months.
First time in a couple months.
We find out it would have been the first time in a couple months, and when he says he's going back, she kicks him right out, right?
Yep.
Get out of here. Go do that assignment. There was a ton of face zooms during this whole time. Like, I found that was something that happened a lot in this movie.
A lot of close-ups.
So many close-up face zooms. And then he does this really weird thing throughout the movie. The Travolta character, or the Sean Archer character, where he wipes his hand down the face.
God damn it. That's so strange.
Yes. And so this is a moment I wrote it down in my notes because he does it to his wife and then I think his daughter before he goes off. And he's something he had done to his son in the very start of the movie too. And I'm just like, why is this
very
like
creepy.
Did
he used to be blind?
That's exactly what it looks like. He's trying to feel for whether that person is there, but it has this weird, creepy, I don't know. I was really uncomfortable anytime there was that weird face wipe. And he
does it a bunch.
He does it so often.
It's far creepier when he does it later on to his daughter. But even here, I noticed it. I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, this whole time, as this is about to happen, as he's about to take it, I was getting really angry watching it, right? I was like, this is so fucking ridiculous. He's not going to do this. You know what's going to happen. And then in my mind, the question I had most is, like, we know that somehow that both of them are going to come back. I was like, he's gonna fuck his wife the entire time.
Of course he is.
I was like, he's gonna come back and Archer's wife, right?
Well,
I was like,
if you have an arch enemy, if you have an arch enemy who's been trying to put you in jail for decades or however many years, and you end up having his face and essentially like his body, that's the first thing you're gonna do.
Yeah,
the very first thing is I'm gonna go violate this guy's wife.
And while I was watching it, and I hadn't remembered correctly, I thought that to keep his face like alive, they had just put it on to Castor Troy. Like, I assumed that Sean Archer's face, they just swapped their faces.
No, he's
we're gonna
wearing
find out. We're gonna find out in a minute that wasn't the case. But I was just like, why would you do this? And we get to figure out what happens in a second.
Well, he goes for the surgery, and they put his face on top of like a plastic thing that like attaches to the skull, and it it connects somehow and feeds into the nervous system.
This
or
is
the
where I wrote
nerves.
down the science fiction was brutal. Like, I didn't like that aspect. The only part of it that I found cool was when it looked like the doctor was like molding it onto his skull. I thought that was kind of interesting. Like,
Okay, so again, going back to head size, which is my main problem with this, because again, this whole premise is ridiculous, but especially when you consider the difference in their actual physical structure. They address some of the things, but on the computer simulation screen where they show these transformations happening, all of a sudden John Travolta's jaw just shrinks down to a more angular Nic Cage sized jaw, and they never explain how.
Yeah, they didn't say
just
they cut
see
it.
in the
They didn't
computer
say they did
animation.
anything. Yeah,
they have
that's
to
true.
break his jaw and reform the bones, and they do not do that. There's no way they do that.
the science fiction is poor here.
They just breeze right past it. We get a big dramatic reveal. Then it's time for him to go to work, or in his case, jail. And in the jail, this is quite a high-tech facility. The inmates are locked down with magnet boots. Castor Troy, Sean Archer as Castor Troy, causes quite a stir in the cafeteria and also immediately blows his cover by not recognizing this guy. And then when he does recognize him, he's like, I busted you. Sean Archer busted you for it. It was terrible.
It was so bad. I wrote Cage's acting is so bad right here. Like, I was really struggling with what was happening there. The whole prison seemed super lame too. And they put the guards in. One thing I noticed is they spent a lot of time making the guards seem tough. They seem like the lamest garbage guards I had ever seen in my entire life.
Well, as we see later, they will get quickly dispatched later on. Just to really erase any doubt, because he's kind of made some missteps, just in case anyone was starting to catch on, he recovers nicely by beating the shit out of a guy and yelling, I'm Castor Troy, over and over again. Because I know that for me, to make sure everyone knows that I'm really myself and not an imposter, I constantly walking around yelling, I'm Cooper, I'm Cooper.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, just in case. Here comes trouble, though. The real Castor Troy wakes up. He figures out what happened surprisingly quickly. He makes a very coherent phone call without having any lips on his face.
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, he just touches up to his face and there's blood everywhere. I found that makeup was pretty good. It was well done, the section that they showed his face without a face. I thought that was pretty cool. But you're right. I don't know how he so effectively communicated to his cronies to come here and bring the doctor to help him.
He should sound far more like a snake man. He shouldn't be able to form like words. It should be a lot more weird slurping sounds. But yes, his goons grab the doctor and take one fucking guess what he wants. He wants to wear Sean Archer's face and be the new Sean Archer. Meanwhile, the real Sean Archer convinces his clinically paranoid brother that he's Castor Troy by just remember the name of the pills he was on, but literally nothing else.
Yeah, this is where I wrote down Nic Cage masterclass.
That's what it is.
Right here in question.
So his brother again, his brother with one shred of evidence, immediately buys in and tells him the location of the bomb. So movie over. We're good. He's got it.
Yeah, LA Convention Center. But hold on, how is he going to communicate that?
So this was another problem I had with this, is it seems like he really has the lifeline, like the escape plan from the prison is virtually non-existent for him.
Yeah, he had to have someone at the prison he could like tell when he got the information. How was there
You need
nobody
one
there
guard who knows what's going on.
Somebody had to know, but nobody knew.
Nope. So he gets a visitor though, and he probably thinks, great, this is the check-in. I'll let them know that I found this out. I can get out of here. Only problem is he's looking at his own face walking through that door. And now John Travolta gets to be the one who overacts.
So this is where I actually feel like it's the appropriate role for him. This is where it started to turn for me, where I was like, okay, John, I feel like this is what you needed, because you cannot play the straight man for me. I actually wrote that I really liked this scene. Like, I thought it was kind of fun and clever. The music was really bugging me because it was the ridiculous opera stuff again.
That's John Woo, man.
Yeah,
that's John Woo.
It super was, but
Turns out, Castor Troy has killed everybody who knew what was going on.
oh yeah,
Just everyone's dead.
they're all dead.
So now Sean Archer is just Seward. He leaves him there in the prison, presumably for the rest of his life. Then Sean Archer, Castor Troy, goes home. Speaking of blowing your cover, he whiffs on the house, like with his wife watching. He drives right past the house with her watching. And then, which I'm just like, God damn it. The biggest problem I have with this movie, besides the ridiculous science, is a million people should have caught on that they weren't who they were supposed to be.
yeah.
But I guess, to be fair, if someone in your real life was acting strange, probably a bit of a leap to assume that they'd had some weird surgery to put someone else's face on their skull.
Yeah, you would assume they're just like some kind of event has messed up how they're feeling, and that's why they're acting that way. You would not explain it with a face transplant.
Yeah, she's catty about it, says it's about time he forgot where they lived, and then he comes out and turns on that creepy Nic Cage charm through John Travolta.
He grabs her ass again.
He's acting completely different than everything we've seen, and she's just like, oh, that's odd. Then she just goes to work. Then he creeps out his own daughter, steals her cigarettes, and literally says, Papa's got a brand new bag. Ow!
Yeah.
What the fuck?
She was listening to some funk. Like, I think she had James Brown on. So he pulled into that as the music she was listening to. Why this like rebellious teenagers listen to funk music is beyond me. But this was the part that I found strange in the movie, is the relationship that develops between like Castor Troy looking like Sean Archer and his daughter. Like he actually kind of starts to parent her.
Yeah, he is strangely protective of her.
Yeah,
which like, you wouldn't think. You'd think he'd want to turn out Sean Archer's daughter.
Yeah. Based on the things that have happened so far in this, like why would you assume he would have a parental bone? And I found this like a really weird part of the movie for me, because I struggled with that. Like, why is he parenting her? And in his own fucked up way, he's actually doing a fairly effective job of parenting her. And I thought that was strange. I didn't understand why they chose that as what was happening in that point.
So the first thing that Castor Troy as Sean Archer does is release his brother, then gets him to confess so he can defuse the bomb and become an American hero. And given his first chance to speak to a national audience, his quote is,
Interception. Now our side's got the ball. Sorry.
Like, that's your big moment. God damn it.
Yeah, I thought I was prepping for a really good spot too, and that let me down. I think it was a hilarious choice to then go stop those crimes, become a hero. I think that was kind of fun.
He's thinking he can do so much more when he can control where they're going to be and stuff. He can cause all kinds of mayhem.
I like that plan. I thought that was good, and I think you even see like a chunk of that from the prison. Like the TV shows that celebration, and you can see the pain on the real Sean Archer's face as he has to go through all of this.
The real Castor Troy's face. Sean Archer's mind, but it's Castor Troy's.
Yes, you're right. This is really, but you know what I mean.
So he gets an understanding ovation at work, but this time he's all about it. And he also gets a little handsy with one of the female agents.
Yeah, again, he just grab-assing everyone, talking to them about their peaches.
And people are just fine with it. They're like, oh, cool. Yeah. He's fun now.
He would have been Me Too'd so quickly.
Nothing to see here.
It would have been good. He needed to be out of there.
So after that, it's date night. Yep. And apparently he's got his own ticket to run anti-terrorism, but his wife is starting to suspect something's up. She still sleeps with him, though. Ouch for the real Sean Archer.
I mean, it's been 2 months. She had needs.
Sure. Sean Archer, as if...
Question. Yep. Sorry, just to go back to your very start of the movie, we talked about off.
Yeah.
Did they make any changes there? Would she have noticed a difference?
So that's a good question. And I kind of wondered about this because they talk about the body hair and stuff. Is that one of those things where you're like, well, you know,
they just
is anyone going to see this? Do we really need to modify this? I feel like they'd probably be thorough. They'd probably be like, what if someone's going to see it? That's not Castor Troy's cock. Wait a second.
Yeah, I don't know. They could be very different. One could be circumcised and the other could not.
But even if you were... Yes, probably.
Yeah.
But then even if you, because they both end up sleeping with people.
Yeah.
So even if you change the appearance of the penis, would their sexual performance be the same?
I don't know.
Good question. Is Castor Troy going to show up in the John Travolta body and have aggressive, creepy Castor Troy sex, and Travolta's wife will be like, oh my.
I assume that's what happened.
Or later on, and spoilers on this later on, when John Travolta in the Nic Cage body has sex with Gina Gershon, and it's probably like somber and, you know, very milquetoast.
Yeah, she's like, have you done this before?
Missionary only.
What happened
is she going to be like,
my peach did not get an hour of attention.
Castor,
what is going on?
You're so sensitive. Oh, goodness. I know. These are great questions. I don't know. This is probably another way they probably should have been included originally. Sean Archer in prison, as if sensing that this just happened. Oh, my wife just got nailed. He plans an immediate escape, which results in the death of several people, including the guards, which I'm not sure how I feel about that.
I mean, they're working at an illegal prison that's kind of hidden behind anything.
No, hang on. It's not an illegal prison. It's run by the government. perhaps some of
It's
their
a
methods.
secret
He does
prison
say he's
that
going to get the
doesn't
one
follow
guard
the rules.
fired.
Yeah, it's a secret prison that doesn't follow the rules. Nobody can watch it. It's on a goddamn oil rig.
As he finds out when he goes to escape.
There is some ridiculous shit that happens for him to get out of there. He gets chased by a helicopter that fires off a gun, and he jumps off the top of a fucking oil rig and survives the fall to the ocean.
They don't think he survives.
How far did he have to swim? You do see shoreline from the oil rig, but it was kilometers, miles away. Like, this is fucked up.
And that's a better question because he is chased by a helicopter. That helicopter is still there. After he goes underwater, he needs to come up for air at some point, and I'm guessing he can't swim far enough away to be out of the range of the helicopter that would definitely be circling the oil rig looking for him.
Maybe he's also Aquaman. Like, it just could be at the same time that he just was able to swim
they
underwater.
They gave him gills when they switched the thing over?
I think so. Maybe
we're going to give you his face, and we're also going to make it so you can breathe underwater?
Yeah, I think so. Because that's the only way that he survived this shit.
And this is crazy in a movie with so many plot holes. This is the biggest plot hole in the whole movie.
It's completely fucked up.
He jumps in the helicopter, just like, oh, he's dead. They just fuck off and land somewhere? Come on.
Yeah.
To continue with plot holes, the next morning, Sean Archer forgets his dead son's birthday, which still doesn't tip his wife off.
Yeah.
They go to the grave. She cries in his shoulder. It's super awkward. And just when this day can't get any worse, he finds out that Castor Troy has escaped. He tries calling his wife, he being Sean Archer in the Castor Troy body. Yeah. Goddamn, this is confusing.
Yeah.
She shrugs it off, but the cops are looking for him, so he goes to hide out with his old gang, and they hatch a plan. Get Sean Archer and take his face off. They work the title in.
I wrote this down because they say it several times, and I even wrote down this one is for Cooper. Because I know how much you love when the title gets worked in.
I love it.
And yeah, the character says it at least 3 times, and I was like, this is great. Before we get there, how does he try to call people? Because I love this moment. He's driving along and he pulls out his
car phone.
Yeah, I was just like, oh my God, car phone.
This is a strange.
This is where this movie doesn't hold up to me, right? Like we start seeing some of this stuff that
you know what though, you can't really. I have a hard time looking at movies that way because if you go through almost any movie,
there's going to be all that shit.
Just the existence of cell phones would immediately render like 90% of the problems obsolete.
It is true. The cell phone has solved most of the world's problems.
Any movie where someone's racing to get somewhere to notify people, but they have to actually be there in person, like you just a cell phone, done.
So they go back and he goes with the old cronies, right? And they're going to go take his face off.
And they say it, you're right. They say it like 19 times. It's great.
And then you see the drug moment where they start taking drugs together. And I actually wrote down that I thought that Travolta as Castor Troy or impersonating Castor Troy, whatever, that moment for Nic Cage was really well done. I think they did a really good job. Like I thought he did a good job showing that moment.
He conveys the struggle of wearing the face of the man who killed your son and also trying cocaine for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. I thought that was really well done. I thought they did, and that's what leads to that weird, sexy stuff.
It is. Back at the house, Hyde from that 70s show drops off Sean Archer's daughter and gets a little aggressive with her. So Castor Troy as Sean Archer comes out and just kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah, I wrote another weird dad moment here. Like he really stood up for the daughter of his arch nemesis.
So he does that, which has got to be out of character. Then he gives her a cigarette and also a butterfly knife and tells her that anyone tries to touch her, stab them in the thigh and twist it so it won't heal. And she still doesn't realize it's not him.
Foreshadowing.
Oh, yes, that too. Big time. Back at the gang hideout, Castor Troy has an awkward morning after with Gina Gershon and finds out that her kid is his kid. I mean, not Travolta's, but it's Nic Cage's kid.
It's Castor Troy's son.
Yep. But Pollux Troy spots him there, notifies his brother, and the FBI just starts spraying the place with bullets.
Hold on.
There's a kid in the window.
Yeah.
You can see a child in the window, and they just are shooting. They're just flooding the house with bullets.
I just wrote, what the fuck, FBI on here? There's a really weird moment with the kid, though, because he meets the kid, and it brings him right back to his own son, right?
Oh, he starts calling him Adam?
Yeah, and then he does the fucking face swipe. And I'm just like, oh, no, the face swipe. Why are you doing this? But then the FBI come, and they go all out.
How can you do this? If you are an FBI agent, they don't even knock. They're not even trying to arrest them. They just spray. There's a kid in the fucking window.
Yeah, the only other time the FBI has ever done this is in Waco, Texas. This is the only connection I could ever see. I was
God.
What is happening here?
And again, strange choice in production. this giant slow motion shootout is set to
Somewhere over the rainbow. I wrote that down too. And there's just Somewhere Over the Rainbow is playing, and it's a weird rendition, right? It's not like one that we know. It's some female vocalist singing it, and there's glass breaking everywhere. I was like, I think at some point I was messaging you, and you were like, take a drink every time there's a John Woo moment. And the glass breaking for me was a John Woo moment.
Slow motion glass
breaking. I was really hammered by the end.
So Castor Troy, pretending to be Sean Archer, shows up, kills one of his own guys, just kills an FBI agent, which is whatever. And now they have a little showdown. Castor Troy wants to switch back, but Archer says he can't take back what he took from him. So now at another line straight from the trailer, plan B, let's just kill each other. And then in what must have been the moment where the screenwriters just started high-fiving, like, we fucking got it, they start shooting at each other through mirrors.
Oh my God. I wrote that down too. I was like, yes, this mirror scene is straight out of like your best sort of carnival trailer park action, right? It was one of those where you're just like,
yeah. Well, because he looks at the mirror, he sees the guy he hates, even though he's seeing his own reflection, and he's shooting through the mirror.
And they both start shooting. They both lay down and shoot.
Yeah. They must have been, the screenwriters were like, we fucking got it right here.
Yeah,
this is
I
it.
think so. That was the moment in it.
Clear some space in the mantle for that screenwriting Oscar. It's coming home right now. Archer escapes. Archer in the Troy body. Pollux Troy tries to stop him. He falls. He dies. Castor Troy, upset about this, kills another FBI agent. And the next day, he murders his boss. Invokes a heart attack.
That was fucked up. Yeah, you're just like, okay. But he kills him so that he can become the...
I guess. But the part for me is he calls for help after he kills the guy. And the way he calls for help is just so calm. Hey, can you get the paramedics, please? Boss just had a heart attack. No concern. No anything. Yeah. So what now? Sean Archer breaks into his own home. And in case you were confused about where he's breaking in, he enters and immediately says, home.
Yeah.
I just hammer you over the head with it, man.
That's fair.
Oh, he scares the shit out of his wife. He explains everything, acknowledges that it's fucking insane. Like, no one would ever believe this.
Yeah.
But he tells her the key to figuring this out and telling who's who is they have different blood types. Which, do you know your wife's blood type?
Good question. No, I don't.
I don't even know my blood type.
I know my blood type, but I don't know my wife's. I only know my blood type because I donate blood.
So if you were trying to convince, if your wife was trying to convince you that she was actually herself, and she was like, here's how you can tell. Yeah. I'm blood type, he's blood type O. You'd be like, oh, that's not the same as you. Or you'd be like, I don't fucking...
I think she's AB is what my wife is. But I wrote down blood type hype. That was my... it was such a moment. I was like, look at this blood type hype. And I guess we're supposed to be convinced because Archer's wife is a doctor. Like, this was the moment that caught her, and you could see her start to turn. Why she didn't know when there was a different inside her, or like all those other things that happened, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
but she bought into this, right? This was the turning moment.
Well, and you know what though? He earns it because this is where, like, Nic Cage goes for the Oscar with the story of their first date when they're at the lab. She takes him to the lab to get the blood test, and sure enough, he tells the first date story. She patches him up, tells him that Archer's going to be at his boss's funeral tomorrow. So tomorrow's his chance, and he drives that home also by saying, and again, the screenwriting for this is so fucking weird. He literally says,
tomorrow, that will be the day.
Yeah, there's a lot of really bad one-liners. Like,
God damn.
One-liners in action or thriller movies can be amazing, but it was just way overdone here. Like, they were not memorable for the most part. There are a couple that stand out, but for the most part, they were not memorable.
It was one of those things where they're going for volume. They're just spraying it with all the one-liners they can. Some are going to hit, some aren't going to hit.
That was just that sort of, like, if anything sticks to the wall, it's good.
Oh, man. So tomorrow's the day after a close call where Castor Troy nearly catches the two of them together. We get ready for the funeral. And actually, there is a nice juxtaposition here of Archer in the Troy body and Gina Gershon getting ready. And then Castor Troy in the Archer body and Archer's wife getting ready for the funeral. We get to see both kind of sides. And the next day, Archer enters the church. And it wouldn't be a John Woo movie without the fucking doves.
1,000,000 doves.
Slow motion dove flying through the frame. God damn. What, like,
I wrote on half of my page, fuck off with the doves, because it was so insane. I was like, the slow-mo religious music is back. I mean, it is a funeral service, so okay.
It's John Woo, man.
John Woo. Nic Cage is giving these giant eyebrow raises, and then all of a sudden the doves come out of nowhere.
Here's the thing with this. We kind of alluded to this earlier. You do something once and people are like, oh, that was really cool. And maybe you do it a second time and they're like, oh, that's good stuff. But you do it like 7 times in 7 different movies. And by the end, people are like, this is the M. Night Shyamalan thing. Like every time you do it, it gets a little less impressive.
Worse. Yeah.
And you're just by the end, you're
really
just like, fuck
can't
off.
Stick with that same thing. It's like sometimes like bands can get away with the same sound over a course, and in fact, sometimes they're expected to. That does not work for direction in a movie, right? You can't do that stuff.
It's like you see a magic trick for the first time. The first time, how do they do that? It's incredible.
Yeah.
The second time you see it, oh my god. The third time you see it, you're just kind of like, I've seen this before. And by the 7th time, you're like, okay, I'm never gonna.
It made me angry. I was literally yelling at my TV screen because there were dumps everywhere, and I was like, "You're kidding me, John Woo, stop it!"
Oh man. So Archer in the Troy body has a choir boy deliver a picture of his dead son to Troy. Then it's time for the funeral showdown. We get a nice John Travolta monologue. He brings out Archer's wife at gunpoint. Out comes Gina Gershon with more guns. We got a big time Mexican standoff.
Yeah.
Everyone starts shooting. We have close-ups of bullets leaving guns. Another John Woo thing.
Yeah, I wrote that down. Bullet zoom again.
Every time.
I had to drink for that one too.
Gina Gershon bites it. She tells who she thinks is Castor Troy to look after their boy. We're back at it. Archer's daughter, for some reason, walks towards the gunshots, almost gets killed. The gunfight turns into a fist fight. Archer has Troy, kind of like in a chokehold, but his daughter doesn't know what's up. She tells her real dad, who she just knows her real dad, to let go of her fake dad, who she just knows her fake dad. And they're both like, not me, him. Like the fucking
It's a
Spider-Man
disaster.
meme.
Yeah, for sure.
So she shoots and she wings her dad.
Yeah, she shoots her dad in the shoulder. Yeah.
Castor Troy taunts and then licks her face.
Yeah, I wrote this down. Why the fuck did he lick her? He was being a quality parent to her until this lick. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, super creepy. And then she stabs him with the butterfly knife. Irony.
To get away because he had her at gunpoint, which was good. Like there was that foreshadowing coming back. She uses the parenting that he gave her to survive. And brings me back to this. Why was he a quality parent to her?
It makes no sense.
I'm so confused and upset by it, but that's okay. We get into what becomes ridiculous after this.
He limps to a boat. We got a boat chase.
What the fuck? Where did the boat chase come from?
I don't know, man.
This was, so you always talk about padding in movies.
Yep.
They did not need to reach
this
90
over
minutes.
2 hours long.
They did not need this chase. Although, there was a lot of money put into this chase.
Tons.
For sure.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Castor Troy kills some useless cops. Sean Archer drives his boat through their boat and then slow motion dives onto Troy's boat. They fight in an extremely unrealistic way because if you let go of the steering wheel of a boat, it does not continue driving straight. It will turn in circles because of the motor turning. So they're both fighting. No one's steering the boat. It's going fucking straight line.
And before this, every time they run into something or their boat touches something, the explosions are if a massive bomb went off. The amount of pyrotechnic budget that was spent on this 4-minute section of the film is astounding. Also, how is Nic Cage / Sean Archer keeping onto the boat at this point as they're spinning in circles?
Oh my god, yeah. He's holding on to the side. He's essentially water skiing in formal shoes on the side of the boat, which there's no fucking way.
Holding on to the anchor chain. There's this insane scene. I'm just like, are you kidding me?
There's a big crash, and then this is great because up until now the production has been pretty the production value has been pretty good.
Oh yeah, they put a lot of money into this.
When there's this big crash, you have what are clearly 2 stuntmen who are not Nicolas Cage and John Travolta flying through the air, and because it's the John Woo slow-mo, you can so clearly tell that it's not them.
It's not even close, and you can tell the entire time the guys hang on to that chain on the edge of the boat, it's not him.
No.
Right? It's very clear.
A rare burst of low-quality production in a high-quality production up until this point. The fight's going to end on a beach when Archer shoots him with a harpoon gun, but not before Castor Troy tries to cut up Archer's literal face.
Yeah, he takes some broken boat or glass to try to scar up his face so it can't go back on appropriately. What is the line that he says as he puts the harpoon gun to him? Do you remember?
I don't. It wasn't anything. I don't recall it being that good. Yeah, that's sort of...
That's it. That's
not more. Yeah.
It is. I was like, oh my God.
If you've been waiting for that moment for X number of years, you'd think you'd have something better in the chamber. Although, mind you, this is the same. Sean Archer in his speech was interception. Our team has the ball.
Yeah,
sorry. They're not.
Yes, the one-liners in this were... Yeah, who wrote the one-liners here?
Thinkers.
It was not good.
So then they both end up in the same ambulance. Sean Archer reaches across and takes back his wedding ring.
Yes.
And after some work from the Bureau's top surgical team, Sean Archer is back in his own body, or at least his own face. We get a tearful reunion.
The lighting and music mirrors the start. It was blowing me away. I was really like, you get this really bright, like crazy light in the operatic
darkness
music.
is over.
We're
back into the light.
Gone. We know again.
Now, this part is fucking insane.
Yes.
There's a tearful reunion. The daughter apologizes for shooting him. He face washes her again with that weird fucking down swipe.
Oh my God, I hated it.
And then he introduces the new replacement son. He's got Gina Gershon's kid, and he basically is like, this is Adam 2.
So,
and he had not cleared this with the wife first.
No, and her agreeing to it in that very moment, in like, he basically brings this child and he says,
this is whoever he needs a place to live. Yeah.
We're going to adopt him. And the daughter, who for some reason to me at this point just looks like Britney Spears, she becomes amazing big sister. And the wife just has like a look with him and like a one word, okay. Like this was like,
he just like looks at her and like kind of shrugs. She like nods yes.
Yeah, like
let's
this
do
is,
it.
We've adopted him. He's here. And the kid is like, I mean, he doesn't have anyone else, but he's just like, why did they have the same haircut too? It really bothered me that both of the kids had the same like
this
weird
is my
bowl cut.
question.
Yeah.
How much time goes by until they just start calling him Adam?
Yeah, I hope they don't. I don't know, but maybe they will, because it was really creepy. Like that
so
ending,
weird.
The ending was strange. I didn't like it. I guess I hope they're happy, but I don't know. They're so fucked up.
Oh my God, they're so fucked up. And now they literally have you cannot. He's just a replacement son. It's so strange to me that they're like, we're a family again. I was thinking about this. We're going to get into our ratings here in a second.
Yeah.
And I am probably going to make some people upset with my ratings. So, okay, why don't we just go right to that?
Mm-hmm.
On a 1 to 10 for how bad this movie is,
Yep.
I'm giving this a 10.
Oh.
And here's why.
Okay.
I have a few reasons why.
All right.
Some of the earlier episodes, producer John gave me some shit about, because I was not rating movies as being bad under the idea that they're Hollywood professional movies. They have a big production budget. Like it's a professional style production.
Yes.
And he kind of pointed out, he said to me, he's like, isn't it worse if they have all the resources at their disposal and they fucking blow it?
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily wrong. So my main issue with this and why I'm giving this a 10, for the first time, putting it in play for the Crit 20 is the whole premise of this movie is completely fucking insane. It is an insane premise. I ask myself, if they tried to make this movie now in 2020, this would not be a major theatrical release. This would be like on this fucking Spike TV network or something. It'd be like Sharknado. If someone's like, I got an idea for a movie.
Yeah.
It's John Travolta and Nic Cage, and they have surgery and switch faces so that one of them can catch the other one. This movie goes right to the fucking straight to DVD, Netflix garbage, Sharknado. There's no way.
It would have to be a comedy, right? Like it would be written as a serious movie that was intentionally like ironic or humorous.
You're doing it just to get attention. That's what this is.
Yeah.
And so I don't know why. I don't remember 1997 well enough to know why this was like a good idea on paper. Yeah. It's a terrible fucking idea. The acting is ridiculous. I like to imagine that Travolta like went to Nic Cage for the movie and was like, Nick, I've really been looking for opportunities to kind of dial it up a little bit. Do you think since I'll be playing you're going to be the baseline for this character? Can you crank it up to 11? And then Nic Cage kind of like put the hand on Travolta's shoulder and was just like, John, I was going to do that anyway. You know what I mean? Like, because it's absurd. Yeah. The acting is absurd.
It's true.
The script writing is absurd. The whole premise of this movie is completely fucked. There's no way any of this can happen.
All right.
This movie is 10 out of 10 bad. Come at me if you feel differently. I don't care. This movie is a giant steaming piece of shit.
Wow. That was very impassioned. I appreciate that. I'm not going to stray very far from you. Unfortunately, we're not going to fight over how bad this movie is because I had so many problems with it. John Woo really fucked this up for me.
There you go.
I really, really struggled with so much of the music and the cinematography and so many of those tropes and choices. I am not a Nic Cage hater. There are people who just will shit on anything Nic Cage does, and I don't feel that way. But both him and Travolta had way more crappy moments than they did good moments in this movie for me. And so I wrote this down as a 9 bad.
Okay, so we're not that far off.
I'm a 9 bad on
You're gonna get some vitriol also.
I deserve it, and that's fine.
I don't think you deserve it. This movie's terrible. Oh, but how much did you enjoy it though?
So this one is really hard for me. I struggled because I was into it. It felt a little bit draggy for me. There were moments where I was like, I wish this was over already. But there were also moments that really pulled me in. And I don't know if that was because of the crappy acting or the like. I think the family moments connected me to it. Like I really did want to see what happened at the end and want to see what happened to those kids and those things. So I'm going to give it a 7 for entertaining. Like I did feel it was an entertaining movie. And I think that was the purpose. Like they didn't make it to be a Citizen Kane. Like this wasn't a Shawshank Redemption. This wasn't like a quality story movie. This was, let's make a fucking action movie that's going to entertain people. So I'm going to give it a 7 for entertaining.
Okay.
I think people can watch this and still have a good time, even though it's a piece of shit.
That's the idea, I guess. I'm actually going to give it an 8 because it is amusing. Again, we both enjoy bad movies. The whole reason why we're doing this podcast.
Yeah.
So it being bad does not mean I'm not going to enjoy it. And the performances are over the top, but that's kind of what you expect. My only real problems with this from an entertainment standpoint is it's too long. It does not need to be that long.
Yeah.
It's over 2 hours. You don't need that. And also some of the stuff with Nic Cage and the family members and stuff is a little uncomfortable.
Oh God, yeah. And I took away a point for all of the face wipes.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like absolutely. Every time
a
Travolta face wiped, I wanted to take away a point of entertaining because it was so creepy. I didn't understand it at all.
Like some of the choices are good, bad, and some of the choices are just bad. So
yeah, that is definitely a bad.
For me, it's an 8 though, so it's still a good score. Like this is an entertaining movie. You
got what did it get from you? So it got an 18 from you, and it got a 16 from me.
Yeah.
So
now,
it's a good score.
Every other movie we've watched, pretty much, you've been like, I'm never going to watch that again. Where are we at on Face Off?
I'm not going to say I'm never going to watch Face Off again.
High praise.
Yeah, which is pretty strong. Like I would watch it if somebody else put it on. Would I choose to watch it again on my own? No, fuck no.
Okay, but still, you're not walking out of the room. So that's
I'm
something.
not leaving the room. So So John Woo had me there, I guess, and those performances, although over the top, did keep me entertained.
There you go. And the Wellington beer, Faces.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I love both Citra and Mosaic hops, so that's good. It does taste a little bit strong for me in terms of double IPA. Sometimes they can sneak under the radar. This one doesn't quite sneak under the radar for me. I could tell I was drinking a double IPA, but I would definitely recommend someone to drink it again.
See, that's interesting because as you know, I'm not the IPA guy in this partnership here.
Yeah.
I thought like for a double IPA it was pretty mild. I was drinking along and I was kind of like, this is not, I expected a lot worse. You didn't see any cringy faces from me over here that we've had before?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
You did a good job taking that down. I think that's part of your palate changing too. I
don't like the direction this is going.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. As you drink more IPAs, you become an IPA guy. I know you're telling me that I'm the IPA guy, but that's
what's happening.
It's not going to be too long.
No, but there's a couple of Wellington beers I've enjoyed. They have a lager that's really nice.
Check out Wellington Brewery, yeah.
Might as well. Yeah, they're easily findable in Ontario.
Yeah.
I think that'll about wrap it up. Next week, we're going to be talking about Friday the 13th, Part 8 for our 8th episode. Jason Takes Manhattan.
Is it really?
That's what they say.
Oh, I have never seen this movie, so
you know
I'm
what?
excited.
Neither have I. So this is going to be
Jason Takes Manhattan.
Virgin territory for both of us. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. If you have not, please follow us on Instagram or Twitter at the BMB Podcast. Please send movie ideas, recommendations to the BMB Podcast at gmail.com.
Feel free to tell us how much you disagree with our points on Face Off.
Yeah, if you want to come defend Face Off, go for it. That'd be great. And please join us next week for Friday the 13th, Part 8. I'm Cooper.
I'm Nolan.
Thanks for listening.
Keep it facey.
What? Jesus Christ.
Maybe I should have said keep it swipey.
In order to trap him, he must become him.